Hello, here's just some really quick additional notes on the render layers in Maya. I forgot to mention in my previous demonstration. So here I want to show you really quick in render how you create the override and how to set up all the rendering layers based on the different rendering engine. Will be a really quick way. The first thing I think I forgot to mention is for each layer, you can set up the different material. So for instance, I have the vector rendering layer. If I click the render settings, you see I have override use Maya vector rendering engine, which the text display as orange color, you have the yellow color here. In the MR rendering layer, I have override to do mental array. So although for the default master layer is maya16rlayer rendering, in the render layers here I can choose a different rendering engine, mental array. So you have to do this through override. Also I want to mention is for each layer, if you do assign a different materials, this material will be count as override as well. So for instance, this object right now is a wood material, but in the mental array render layer is a different material. So the material could be different across different render layers. So here, as soon as you apply this new materials, this one is a mental array, middle button drag and drop, is automatically apply as override. So if you go back to the master, it's still the original material. Just keep that in mind. The same thing for the ambient occlusion. So here you can see in the material, I create this surface ambient occlusion material. So that is applied as override for this layer. You can also do a quick way is right click and then assign this material to the entire layer. So here assign to ambient occlusion layer. So you don't have to do this one by one to individual objects. So let me repeat. If you go back to, for example, mental array layer, and then I will, for instance, click the yellow material, right click, assign to the entire mental array TM layer, you will see everything became yellow, right? Sort of like material for the entire layer. But it does not affect other layers. In the future, if you do want to remove this yellow override, you can right click, go to overrides, and remove material override. So let's go back to the initial individual materials. So it's a little bit tricky. You have to know how to sometimes remove the override, sometimes you apply the new override. Okay, I think that's all about render layers. Another quick thing I want to talk is back to master. I can set up rendering resolution. This will be very useful for your final rendering. I give a name. I give TFF as the final format. I set up resolution maybe bouncing up to 1200, just a little bit higher. I think our requirement is 1600, sorry, 1600 by 1200. In the quality, I will bouncing up the mental array to 0.25, or you can do 0.5 to get a higher resolution. Depends on the speed of your machine. Then you can start to do batch render. So this is a very useful technique. If you do batch render, Maya will render all the images automatically from all the layers. So here I will just click batch render. So it will start automatically. And here I will show the final result to save time. The file will be automatically saved into this location, the project location, and the folder name is images, right? So the file is within master layer final.tiff. So here I can take a look in images. Actually, this is the wrong folder. Here we go. Images. So here you can see the master layer. So here you see that final image in the master layer. At the same time, you have ambient occlusion automatically from this. You have mental ray automatically. You also have vector automatically. I think right now the vector is set as a TIFF as well. If you do want to override the vector to other format, you have to go to vector render layer, right click, create override. Then you can set this to Illustrator. Okay, so after that, then you do the render, batch render. It should just re-render everything. It's automatically give you 4 images. And here you can also tell from the command line is telling you the percentage completed. You can make this window bigger. So here you can see from 0% to 100%. Right? So that is for each individual image. Later you can find the image in the folder. All right. If you want to terminate the batch render, you can do escape, and then you can cancel the batch render if there's something goes wrong. Okay, I think that's pretty much about the render layers and the batch render. I hope that will make our work a little bit easier. Do you want to cancel? Yes. Okay, it's a little bit slow to respond. I think it's kind of low memory, but that's good. Let's stop right here. Now just check really quick. See, the new image is automatically populated in the same place. All right.